Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 216B of Tales with TR. Arrived in Sudbury. All good here at the hotel. Reading through the script. Just came from Toronto. A little bit of Smashing Pumpkins and Green Day action. And today we have the 1962 St. Mike's track and field winner, the Victor Ladorum Terry Ryan Sr. It's good to have you. Speaking of Olympics is why I brought that up. You did it
2 years ago.
But you did, right? You did play a little bit.
Yes. Oh, I did ran. Yeah, I ran.
You ran like what?
Track in Central. Oh my God, I'm going back.
But I mean, did you ran, but was sprint 200 meter? What?
Okay, yeah. Back then it was 100-yard, not 100-meter. 100-yard dash and the 440 basically. 440 once, or then it was 440. Now it's 400 once around the track.
We know you played baseball and hockey. What about? Did you play any other sports in school? Were you a basketball player?
Yeah, basketball. I was on a team, not terrifically good, but good enough to make, to come off the bench. Yeah, I was all right.
Okay. So if you, by the way, how do you like Sudbury so far?
Absolutely love it. And we just we've only been here probably, we got in yesterday evening and then we got something to eat and whatever. So this morning is the first time really that I've seen this part of Sudbury. Now we're going to be going downtown later, whatever, tomorrow or whatever. So, but I like it already. The people I've interacted with have been really friendly, really, really nice.
Yeah, we rolled in yesterday. Everybody's starting to. Dolo and Goody will be here tomorrow, and McD and pretty much everybody else. We go from there. Anyway, just to give you a little bit of context of what's going on here. Anyway, Senior, if there was, given that the Olympics are happening and we're literally watching them as we speak right behind us, what is a sport that you think you would have been decent at, that you could have, that nothing that you've done, like something that we're watching now, like anything, shot put, swimming. What do you look at there? What intrigues you? What do you like? What do you think there's no fucking way I'd ever be able to do it? And what do you think, you know what? I'd love to have a shot at that.
I think I would have been, because I was quick. When I played hockey, I was quick. And when I played baseball, I was quick. I would have liked to have played, at least given a chance, soccer. But we didn't have it. Where I grew up, it was hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer. But I think I would have been decent at soccer, yeah.
What about any of those water sports? You think dive? None, like I've never seen you in the water.
Extremely poor swimmer, yeah. I mean, I can swim. If I was in a lake, God forbid, and I'm out there with no life preserver on, there's no way. If it's like 300 yards, no way. So I can go out maybe 25 or 30 yards and swim in. Looks like, wow, he can swim. But no, if I had to tread water out in a pond or lake, there's no way. I'm not very good. Never was a good swimmer.
Name me three things. Name me three things that stood out or were memorable about Thursday. We went to the concert. It doesn't have to be just on stage. Could have been Sandman having a bite to eat beforehand. It could have been afterwards, taking in a little bit of downtown Toronto. Could have been the concert. Could have been the songs that you heard. What are three things that you took from Thursday? But to give you people, again, more little context, it's Sunday right now. And 3 days ago, we went to see that concert.
Well, the first thing to me would be the concert, because that's, we were there.
And what did you think? I mean, of the Green Day?
It's a great concert. And what I judge concerts by, and some people like to go and hear the songs, and they don't want to hear just like what it's like on the record. I do. I want to hear, like, can you produce live? I don't want any studio shit. If you can produce live to me and it's just like the record, and watching that concert, you could close your eyes and you would think a record was on. It was, every note was perfect, and the all the songs I wanted to hear, he played.
Nice stage show too. The The presentation, I guess you would say. And the crowd was pretty awesome too. We ran into a lot of people that were Shoresy fans or Newfoundlanders, whatever. And yeah, the energy was awesome. And what about Toronto, man? Do you think it's changed a lot since you were there? I mean, okay, you've been there a little bit in the last few years. I took you to the All-Star game. Before that, it was when I was like 10 years old. But like when you were here a lot way back when you played junior. Do you think a lot has changed about Toronto?
Oh my God. I mean, Toronto, it's changing from year to year. You come back in a year and there's so many new skyscrapers up. That's the one thing that impresses me. I love being downtown. I love looking at skyscrapers at night, whatever. I just do. And they're going up everywhere in the city. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, it's really got the feel of a really big time city, like any in the States, like what, maybe not New York because it's so, big, but any of these other big cities.
It's the third biggest city in North America. It's not too far off New York now. We're I like where our buddy Sandman lives, like that area. Not that I'm going to blab exactly where it is, but it's an area of Toronto that's pretty. But the thing about Toronto, it does have a lot. Like, aren't you surprised now that you're frequenting there a little bit more? Because we're going to be back before the year. I mean, you're there 4 times this year. So, did you remember it being so green? I find there's so many trees. A lot of people don't associate that with Toronto. I don't know why. You get it with Vancouver because the mountains are there, and it's obvious because you can see them up. But I mean, like Toronto, each neighborhood is littered with big old trees, and I'm not sure. And we weren't always here in the summer. Did you notice that?
That's why I haven't been here in the summer in a while now. I've been here, but if you're here in the winter, is no good. And if you're here late fall, the leaves are gone. So the one thing that I mentioned to you, we went out for a walk that day, and we walked, quite a ways, and I couldn't get over, no matter what street, what section of the neighborhood, the big, tall, majestic trees. I was really surprised at that.
Yeah,
in the big city,
when we were here in February, right? Like every time you've been here, really, every time, other than, yeah. Now listen, next year is going to be the Four Nations Cup. Are you looking forward to this? Do you know what this is?
No, first I'm hearing about it.
So, in the 24-25 NHL season, there's going to be instead of an All-Star game, they're going to have the Four Nations Cup. Oh. So it's Canada, Americans, I suppose the Swedes and the Finns. Now, my only thing is weird that they're not including.
It's going to be over a week or something?
I suppose, yeah. Right, and then the Olympics will be a year after that. Yeah. So right now we're coming up on, and 2 of these teams will probably be similar, right? I mean, it's going to be Team Canada 25, Team Canada 26.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Might be a little change, but there's going to be a vast majority of the same people on the roster, and if guys can stay healthy like Crosby, they'll likely Crosby. There's no one like Crosby, but older players that there's going to be a push in the next couple of years to stay healthy. Now, assuming everybody is healthy, who do you think will be the captain of Canada? Which would it be, Crosby or McDavid or somebody else?
To me, no. But I mean, I'm old school, obviously. And I just can't see how you don't give it to Crosby for all that he's done for the country and for hockey and whatever. And even if McDavid obviously is I think everyone would acknowledge he's the best player in the world now. But I think even McDavid would say, no, give it to Crosby. That's how the younger might say, no, they should give it to McDavid because he's going to carry the torch. Either way, I think, but to me, it would be Crosby.
McDavid going through the playoffs, breaking the assist record in the playoffs. It's just hard to break any offensive record nowadays. If you come after Wayne Gretzky or Mario Lemieux, it's going to be hard. So he did that, and he's led a team that clawed and scratched their way into the 7th game, but back from 3-0. Where do you think that does that fall close to the top in achievement for the great players? Like, or is Gretzky's fourth cup still? You know what I mean? Like, do you think there's anything to be said there, even though they didn't win?
Put it this way: if Edmonton had come back and won, they would have accomplished something that in 120 years of history of the NHL, like 3 teams had done. So that would put them in an extremely rare category. You know, win 4 in a row, being down 3. I mean, you think of all the games that have been played and series that have been played, and like only 3 or 4 in the history of the NHL,
and none in the final. And the thing is, I just find nowadays sorry to cut you off. There's 32 teams. It's harder to win a cup. So if I think he'll win one, but if he doesn't, I think you could point back to something like this and say, okay, he didn't. But like you could put, other than have that ring, I think he showed that he's a great playoff performer. I mean, we kind of already knew that, but this to me was next level, the way he led and he did that. Now, do you think 3 years from now, do you think McDavid and Draisaitl are both Edmonton Oilers?
Wow. Well, if one goes, the other goes. You know that. Both of them, they're going to demand massive contracts. And I can't see how you let either one go. I mean, they're tied at the hip or joined at the hip. And I think you got to sign both. And then you've got to start working the cap, but what do? You have to have
the cap. The cap's increasing. So that's probably going to be, now will their agents ask for the same percentage of cap, which won't really matter. But anyway, yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't know. To me,
I'm talking about $9.5 million a year. You're probably going to like 13 to 15 a year.
Oh, you're definitely doing that. Yeah. I think you're there now with McDavid. I think he gets 13 something now.
So, and they're going to be signing for. You have to assume, I'm going to say 6 to 8 years. They're going to lock him in for the rest of their hockey lives. You would think.
You're going to hope so, unless they. Yeah, you're going to hope so. Okay. Name me 3 great athletes from 3 different sports pre-1950.
Pre-1950. Well, soccer, you'd have. Geez, I don't know soccer that well, even though I follow it now.
Just start with soccer.
Yeah, well, I'd say pre-1950.
Well, Babe Ruth, like obviously you're going to.
I was going to start in hockey. I'd say Eddie Shore. Arguably one of the greatest.
I'm not saying you have to say Babe. I'm just saying baseball is one of the.
Oh yeah, well,
anything. And so 3 different sports. So
to me, pre-1950, I'd immediately, because I am a Yankee fan, I'm going to go Ruth and Gehrig right off the bat. I mean, I'm just going to do it.
So 2 other sports, 3 different sports, so only one from each sport. So you say Gehrig
and Ruth, and if you want me to
3 different sports, I'm saying you're not listening to me. 3.
If you want to throw a third in, I'd probably go with pre-50, Jimmy Fox.
You're still not listening to me. 3 athletes from 3 different sports.
Oh, so one from each sport.
Yes.
You meant 3 athletes from each 3 different sports. Okay.
No. I don't even know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's going to be Ruth in hockey. And pre-50, I don't think Hal was playing in the 40s, was he?
I'm not saying the absolute best. I think I'm saying name me 3 good athletes pre-1950.
Pre-50, that's going back there, man. That's 75 years. I wasn't even around. But I know someone.
Okay, I'll say Jesse Owens, Cyclone Taylor, and
good choices too.
Pee Wee Reese there.
Yeah, how can you argue Jesse Owens and Cyclone Taylor? While you're going back like to about 1905 or 1910. Still, he was the best then on the go.
Couldn't pass it forward for the most part. There was a rover. some of those years couldn't leave. If you were in your own zone, you couldn't leave your zone. There was one rover allowed to. But here's what I think, though. It's totally different. So you can't compare but given those, like if you were to give people now, like given those rules, he was still by far the best. So
that's why. Yeah, it's all.
You know what I mean? It's two. You could really make a great argument for both sides of it. You can go, yeah, it's not even the same sport. What are you talking about? No, but give Wayne Gretzky the same rules, and he would figure out a way to be his IQ would, within the rules. Then there was all of a sudden a whole different approach. Anyway. Yeah. So name me one more.
Well, I really can't. I can't go back pre-1950 in soccer. I would if I could. I'd say Pele, but I don't think Pele played back then. He was probably more of his 60s.
Is there anything? I'm trying to think. Who do I know that's a? It's hard to even name once you take away those. What?
50s though. That takes away a lot.
Is there any? I don't know basketball or the NFL before that.
Well, the names I know in basketball, I'm pretty sure. He was pre-50. It was either Bob Cousy from the Celtics. Now he may have been a little bit later. Maybe.
Did you ever see? Hey, Mad Dog always brings him up with Stephen A. Did you ever see when they get arguing on there and he brings up Bob Cousy and he's like comparing him to Kevin Durant and he's like, yeah, he loves him. I know he goes way back. And any big Olympians from back then? I only know the Owen story because it was a movie and I.
Did they play in the Olympics then? I don't know.
Well, Jesse Owens was in the Olympics.
No, I mean in basketball.
No, I mean any Olympians. I can't even think of an athlete outside of those sports before 1950.
I can think of, and I think he held the long jump record for the longest time. If it's beaten, I think it just recently got beaten. He jumped in Mexico City, and that was at altitude, right? But Bob Beeman, I remember he broke it by a ton, but it's at altitude, right? It counted, and so I remember that name specifically.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember I think it was in Mexico or to Montreal, the two black athletes that got gold and silver and protested when they got up on the podium. They both each wore a black glove to represent, the racism that was going on at the time.
I remember that. I remember that seeing that story, but this isn't pre-1950 though, was it? I didn't know it was that.
Right? No, it wouldn't have been pre-1950. I can't go back. Like I say, that's before I was born, and I'm not into each of those sports individually to like become an historian in them. Yes, so I haven't gone back and looked at specific points and whatever. So I picked up what I picked up through watching and reading.
I know you like anybody. How else are we going to do it?
Well, I'm just.
What do you?
No,
yeah.
I made it a point to go back beyond that.
Yeah. But I guess I was going to ask you. Yeah, because I just thought it was hard. I thought about it. I don't know why. I was thinking of questions, and I just thought about it. And I'm like, I really don't know many athletes outside of hockey or baseball pre-1950. What's going on? There's something happening on the TV?
Canada's in second place.
In what?
For the final, in the relay.
I
had to sneak a look.
Who's your favorite? Your favorite sports personality? Like media personality.
Oh, media personality.
And I guess ever. It could be ever. You could go Howard Cosell, Bob Costas. I like those two.
I love Cosell, but yeah, I'm glad you said that. Bob Costas.
Oh yeah.
I think he's the best. Yeah.
He's still pretty good. He's fucking old, but he's still pretty good. So, and you came in with would you have heard Foster Hewitt?
Yes, definitely growing up. Yeah, I remember Foster Hewitt.
So for those that don't know, he's
I remember doing I think he did it from the catwalk or the gondola. It was just way up. Yeah, Maple Leaf Gardens.
To those that don't know, yeah, check into that Foster Hewitt. He was a voice of hockey in Canada for a long time. Kind of I believe Bob Cole said it was his idol, but Bob Cole, Bob Cole went up and gave him a tape, and
how he got started.
yeah, that's how he got started. And what would have been so like you're 13 years old, you're good at hockey, you're good at baseball on like a local level. Were you thinking I can play in the NHL or the major leagues? Were you thinking either one of those things? And if it had been one, would you have picked baseball?
To me, that's the best one to play. Is you're out in the fresh air and it's warm. Now, there's a lot more to it. 162 games, get out there and play. But I would love baseball. But hockey was always mine. Like if it came down to I had to make a choice, it always would have been hockey. But it would have been close. I love baseball. But no, I would have chosen hockey.
What age were you when you had your first beer? Did you like sneak it on your parent? Like, did you guys hang out up at Leechbrook or something?
Really straight kid, and we all were really the group that I came through Grand Falls with. We won 4 championships in a row, 3 NHLers off it, top picks. So we were good for Grand Falls, Newfoundland. But I remember when I had my first beer, we were going to a baseball tournament against Skander, which is 60 miles east of where we are, and the rivalry between. And I went into a restaurant and we played a game. It was a doubleheader, really hot. And the coach said, "Here you go, Terry." He bought me a beer. And I remember I took a big sip and I really got lightheaded.
What?
I never drank or smoked. Right?
Well, how old were you?
Beer I had. I'm going to say I was 16. But after that, I wouldn't have had any until when I went to junior in Hamilton. Every now and then we'd go out as a team, St. Patrick's Day, but I never really.
So yeah, I
started drinking regularly till I turned pro.
Wow.
Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. With DraftKings, you can bet on any game you want. Whether you want to bet the puck line or the over-under, DraftKings has something for everybody. And if you want, you can throw down on your favorite player as an anytime goal scorer. Or if you're looking for a long-term bet, maybe you want to predict the Stanley Cup champion. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. New customers get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's promo code THPN, as in the Hockey Podcast Network, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.co/ice for eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities, like self-care, slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it can be hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, those non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. BetterHelp isn't just for people who have experienced major trauma. It can be helpful for learning positive coping skills, how to set boundaries, or just empower you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, why not give BetterHelp a try? BetterHelp is entirely online, so it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Plus, it's easy to get started. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge, no hassle, nothing. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
So then Kalamazoo or Minnesota but Kalamazoo with a bunch of guys that were degenerates. I mean, that must have been an eye opener, was it?
It was
like coming from what you just told me. There's a level of like you seem pretty naive to all this.
I think it was normal for the times then, because then you were talking 73, 74, 75, 76, and all that had hit. And it was sort of different than when I was coming through. It was like,
You look like a hippie. You anybody that wants to Google any picture of senior and pro. So if pro, I'm looking at you, and you look like you could fit in at Woodstock. And by that time, you're drinking.
Everyone had long hair, and not so much in hockey yet. There wasn't hair down the back, but if you look at a picture of someone in the 50s or 60s, and then look at the same picture or a different picture of guys played in the 70s, noticeable hairs down over the years. That's everyone did.
So it was your evolution into being an adult then was like pretty normal, or it's just weird because I see one year you look young and you're telling me you never even sipped beer, and the next year, 2 years later, you're in, or 3 years later, I guess, in Kalamazoo with a bunch of monkey men that are, I mean, I just know because I know these stories. I know some of them. I've met 2 of them personally. I know the stories you tell me. I read the books about it. I'm just saying,
It was a great team. I mean, we really close, but boy, we partied. I mean, we when we were on the road, we didn't always come back at 12 o'clock for curfew or whatever, but it was a very close team, and we're hockey players. No, most of the time you're having a beer, so we had a beer.
Did you never got into smoking cigarettes?
No, never, ever. Not, and I'm so happy for that because my dad never smoked. Mom smoked very moderately, maybe a pack every 2 days. And I never had it. I never had that problem. But the group I came through with, then you were told, and your coaches told you, and you bought into it, and it was true, that smoking, if you're going to be an athlete, you can't smoke. And we bought into it. We didn't smoke. Some did. Of course, somebody, you're not always going to get everyone agreeing. But for the most part, no, we never drank nor smoked.
Yeah, it's funny. You say that. I remember early in my life when we would go into Grand Falls, I was like, it was like the 10th time I was in there when your mom, before she quit smoking. I was like, I didn't even know you, but she did. She only had 4 a day. Could. I've never
drank. Dad had a beer. Never smoked. Mom smoked a little bit. Never drank.
Never drank.
So it wasn't in my household, and the statistics will tell you if one person in your household smokes, the odds of you smoking increase, and if both parents smoke, it's a real good chance that you're gonna end up smoking. It just makes sense.
What? So was the environment? So you've got 4 brothers and sisters.
No, I have
5.
2 brothers and 2 sisters. Yeah.
4 brothers and sisters.
Okay, I thought you said 4 brothers and 4 sisters.
Oh no, God! So you got yeah, it's all right. You got 4, yeah. So 2 brothers, 2 sisters. But your youngest sibling is 20 years younger, almost.
Yeah.
So did you? And that would be Kelly, right? Is younger than. So did you know Kelly? You were gone to junior, were you?
I know her a bit now, of course.
I know you know her now. It's your sister.
She was born when I was in junior in Hamilton. I was 18. Almost 19, my second year, and I go home in summer, and I guess I got married at a year and a half later, and then I moved out of Grand Falls, and Kelly was still there. So I got to know her a little bit as I go home and visit my sister every year in Grand Falls. Sometimes Kelly's there, but I never really knew her. Now, how can I? I'm away. I never grew up with her.
Have you?
Sister Elaine, though I'm older than her too, I grew up with her. When I left, she was about 12 or 14. So I pretty well, but not Kelly.
What did you think? While we were in TO, we also sat back and we took in a movie. What did you think of Deadpool and Wolverine?
Just loved it. I hope it makes $1 billion because I really like Ryan Reynolds. I like his self-effacing attitude. And I think he's a good actor, and it's just hilarious. So I'm really glad I went.
You were bringing that up. How many movies you go to a year? We used to go to a lot more, but I mean, what do you think now? You go to what, 6 a year maybe, and you watch the rest at home?
I watch the very best ones. You might go into Rotten Tomatoes, a site or whatever, and you click, and I look at, okay, is this 42 splat or 90 or 93 ripe tomato? that influences me now. And it takes a lot more to get me out of the house to go to a movie than just stay and say, well, I'll see that eventually on Crave or something like that. But if they're really good, like that one, Deadpool, I hadn't seen, but I had intended going to that just as I returned to St. John's because it's down there now. I was going to go, but I saw it up here.
How about, did you enjoy the theater we saw it in? How about that?
I couldn't believe it. Only in Toronto. It was like going into a lounge, could drink beer, sit down in a menu, and the seat was like absolutely a billionaire could sit in like lush leather seats wide and take your menu. Yeah, bring you your food or a beer. It was wild.
I've been to a lot. This was the nicest. Well, first of all, we accidentally bought the VIP treatment. I didn't realize that. I'm like, what is this? And which is funny that it was only $20. I don't want to say only for a movie, but for the one, I thought you could have charged $50 for sure.
Experience of it. It was an experience for me.
Like when we say order off a menu, I mean, they delivered it to the seat. I mean, some people are probably laughing because they do this all the time. But look, trust me, I go to a lot. Usually I just pick the standard viewing. I didn't realize that all that was possible. Leather lounge seats, one you could pull back. It's like a lazy boy. Order whatever you want, booze, sushi. Yeah. It was quite wild. Anyway, the Yankees. People want to know. So I got some Yankees fans that listen to this. You are a Yankees fan. They've had an to me, up and down year.
Go back when the Yankees were underwater, when Mantle retired, and you got, I think Topping and Weiss were the two guys that bought it, and they just ran it into the ground. At least Steinbrenner. I loved Steinbrenner. I know it would be hard to play for him. It would be extra hard to manage for him. But Steinbrenner got you the players, and he didn't care how much he spent. So if I'm a New Yorker, I know I'm going to have a good team every year. Now, I might not like the way that Steinbrenner's running it, but think about it. Think about the success he had.
Yeah.
I mean, under him, with Joe Torre alone, what they win? 4, 5? That's all.
Well, to me, that's the
Jackson back to back. 2 more Steinbrenner.
To me, the most impressive are Tories, again, because there's more teams in the league. It's one thing to win them years ago, and it's still hard because baseball has had more. Baseball went like hockey. It was 6 teams till the late 60s. 6. So the odds, if you just play a career, the odds are that you're going to win one. Play 4 years, and the chances are with you.
When I was coming through, I think then I know a little bit more about baseball. I've got books going back, but I think in Mantle's time, I think there was like 10 in each league. It was either 8 or 10. At the end of the year, if you had the most wins, that was the World Series. The National League, they had the most wins. They played off of the World Series. There were no 3 to get to it, but only the top team and the top team in the National League. That's the World Series.
And there's a whole.
Yankees won a lot of them.
But in Torrey's era, I just find because and the same thing with hockey. Like I love those Habs teams. You can talk about them, and they're some of the best ever. But but the Habs had an advantage in taking French players, and they had the draft Jeter. Like it was smart. As much as you hate Rodriguez, they had him during those best.
The rights to any. They had I think automatic rights to anyone born in the province of Quebec was automatic
for a long time.
But now, having said that, I think the same thing might have applied to Toronto. They get the first dibs on the English guys. I think
might have. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. And to me, it's so insignificant in my fandom that's why I don't. But I know there was something about that. But if you're really comparing apples and oranges, you got to bring that up. Well.
I think back then, it seems to me the best players were coming out of Quebec were French.
Yeah, and there was also, even outside of that, though, even if you go back, you could just list players. You could just sign with someone when you were 14. So it was all out of whack. It really was. There was, it was all out of whack. Before any draft, it was out of whack. So, but that system, even though, again, talking about the best of all time and the teams and everything, you bring that in because it's relevant. But it did kind of make sense at the time for area. There's less planes travel, and there's no computers, and these people are right here. We can go see them. It to me, it's not a bad rule to have. Now it doesn't make sense, but back then, I think geography.
Well, I mean, you're going to be developing the kid too. It's not just like you're going to be bringing him places and paying everything. Like I went through and you did. We're playing junior, and they're paying for our schooling and paying for our room and board. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I remember reading one of those. It might have been the Orr book, but it was one of those that there's a scout talking, and then he's like, he's going to take Northern Ontario. I'm going to go up and hit this, and they're from different teams, and I'm like, you're just going to give that area up? But he's like, there's too much. We all can't be responsible for all of Canada, so it's like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like it was much more
hit and miss. Ren Blair, the guy who drafted me, he was going to a hockey tournament in Northern Ontario and went to a tournament that Perry Sound was playing in. And, of course, he discovered Bobby Orr. Yeah. He was 10 years old.
Good point. Now, by the way, what I asked you or meant to ask you with the Yankees fans, how do you think they're going to do this year? Are they deep enough? Do they have the pitching? Basically, and they're great against, it's fine that they beat the Jays by like 13 runs yesterday or whatever it was, but do you think they can do it against the best teams?
The team that they had envisioned, for example, if LeMahieu, and I love LeMahieu, but he's batting like 180, and he was a big part of, he was going to lead off 2 batting titles, and it looks like he lost it overnight. And
they have, what's the guy? There's a new guy that stepped up. I forget Buddy's name. I forget it now. It's escaping me.
Chisholm. They picked up Chisholm, and he got pop. And Trent Grisham he's given him more. He's going to bat 210, but he'll hit 15 to 20 a year. So he's got pop there. And same way with Chisholm. I don't know. To me, is their pitching and like Holmes has been stumbling. He's their main guy. Man, he's blown a lot. Now, he's still good, but he's a kid. And I don't know. They were so hot for a while. It was unrealistic. They were like 52 and 20. They weren't going to do that. But they were, now they're playing, they're sort of turning it around now, it seems. But they went like 10 and 22, and they're not that bad either. So, if the pitching can come through, I'm not totally sold. No, I'm not totally sold. I like to say, something, but I'm not. They're 2 right now. He started off like 9-0. Now I'm sure but he's showing now there's weaknesses there, and he's never pitched this many innings. And Rodon starting to pitch, he had a few bad ones, but it looks like he's a real deal. He had a good one yesterday. I mean, they paid enough money for him. And I think Jarrett Cole is going to be Jarrett Cole. He had a couple of bad ones. He's Jarrett Cole. He's a stud, and he hates to lose. So I think they might have it in the starters. I'm really worried about the bullpen. If they get in trouble, most starters now are going 6 innings. And the bullpen. By the way, did you see the no-hitter the other day? I was so fucking glad. San Diego, the guy left him in. Yeah. So he pitched the full game?
Yeah. You could see
was his name King? Mike King? I hope it wasn't. You know why? Because he's one of the guys that they gave up for Soho, and he's supposed to be a stud.
1 second, I got to pause this. I can't believe it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm just, I'm having a brain cramp. So, okay, we're back. Hey, not only senior was I was talking about. I'll get to it. I was talking about another one, but apparently last night, San Francisco Giants ace Blake Snell threw another one. So that's the 3rd no-hitter of the season. But we went a couple of years with none because people were taking him out of that pitch. Jaster Skeens got taken out earlier this year in the 8th. And he still only had 90-something pitches in. And
that's baseball,
So the great thing I like about this, as I read it, I don't need to look any further. San Francisco Giants ace Blake Snell tabbed his first career no-hitter. First, here's why I love it. Because here's the reason. 2 or 3 years ago, He was pitching in Tampa Bay
Yeah, he did.
in the World Series, and he had a no-hitter going out in the 7th, and he was livid. Kershaw went and said the same thing and said, "No, it's all right. I get it," because he's a nice guy. Snell was pissed, and they lost. And we were all looking at it going, sometimes, man, you leave a guy in there. Anyway.
It's good to say because he's been pitching like shit. So now he's making like $35 million a year.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a 1-year contract. Anyone's paying $35 million for him next year, man.
$35 million.
A lot. Remember he held out that he wanted a big contract, a long term. No one would give it to him. I'm nearly sure he signed 1 year for 25 or 35 million. I thought it was 35. And this is it, but he's got to negotiate at the end of the year. I'm not a Blake Snell fan.
I'm not a huge fan, but I don't know much about him other than he's a great pitcher.
I know he's won a Cy Young in the American and in the National. Okay, so you could say, well, that justifies it enough. But if you look at, I think he won 20 once. I know 20-game winners are becoming like dinosaurs, extinct because they're never in there for whatever, and closers blow it in the 7th or 8th. But I never saw him. Sometimes I just found him too inconsistent. Like if Jarrett Cole, if it's the 7th game, here you go, Jarrett, and I got total confidence. The other guy I don't.
I know, but it's supply and demand, and I still think he'll get it. I don't know the exact numbers anymore. I didn't know 35 was on the...
It's like at least 25, I'm telling you. And he wouldn't get it, so he said, okay, I'll sign for 1. That's why he gave him more. But he's going to have to be negotiating again next year, and I can't believe that. I mean, we're 2/3 way through there. What's his record? Like, I know he got hurt. He might be 3-7 with an ERA of probably over 5.5.
Well,
it was 6-something. I know that.
Yeah, and there's been inconsistency and there's been injuries.
$35 million because he threw a no-hitter.
No, but he's also proved it in the playoffs too.
I don't know if he has.
Well, we just talk about him coming out. No, but he played well. I remember I remember at least that year. No, I remember that it was the one game that was the last game of his run. Now I don't know the other years though. I don't. It was just that he went like 4-1 that year.
Or inconsistent. He's not someone I feel totally confident. 7th game. Here you go. Give the ball to him. I don't know. Maybe someone else would say, yeah. No, I'd pick Jarrett Cole any day of the week over him.
Okay, I'm going to take off. This went 10 minutes longer than I even thought it would, which is all right. It's never bad to have a nice conversation, but now I got to read the rest of Shoresy season 4. Yes. Got to actually do some homework. Yes. And got to set up your travel back and meeting all the guys. We got a busy few days. You will be in St. John's, Newfoundland at the end of the week. Where what you'll be doing is going out to watch your granddaughter in the Newfoundland and Labrador Summer Games. Are you looking forward to it?
I can't wait.
Well, lastly, before we go, what do you like? If you could, one thing about the summer where we live, what would be your favorite thing about the summer where we're in St. John's, Newfoundland?
In St. John, the best thing this year was going to that concert. Like the last 4 or 5 days, just a highlight. It would be the highlight of a lot of people's when we're in Toronto and going over and meeting everyone. You know a lot of people in Toronto that are celebrities or whatever. So we run into them, we meet them, and have a beer with them. They're normal people, like anyone else. And then to go to the concert and come up here, and I'm going to meet Jared, and yeah, it's great.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll leave it right there. Thanks a lot, Senior. I appreciate it. Get back to watching the Olympics, and I'm about to do my homework. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. We got Brent Sopel this week. I'm really looking forward to that. Brent's an old opponent of mine and a Stanley Cup champ, an old Western leaguer that didn't give you any breaks going to the net, I tell you that. Brent Sopel, I remember 3 hard hits.
He was hard.
And
I watched Brent.
Yeah.
I liked him.
He's great,
when
great player.
We were playing Zip Current in the playoffs. and I didn't know anyone out there because I flew up from St. John's and I picked him out.
Yeah.
He's hard-nosed and played the same in Swift Current as he did in Red Deer.
Yeah, that's true. Good. On the road didn't matter to Brent Sopel.
That's a player.
That's why he was so successful. It's why he played in the NHL. It's why he has a Stanley Cup. Folks, if you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, and Labrador, and you want to go for a beer, especially this week, George Street Festival, head to Trinity Pub, TJ's Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, Greensleeves Pub, and of course, I like to go to the Bull and Barrel. If you want to go for a bite to eat, why not try Blue on Water, Loose Tie, and Wedgwood Cafe at the end of Elizabeth Avenue. Wedgwood Cafe also do catering. If you want to work out, change your body and mind for the positive, for the good. Check out Rope Walk Lane. Check out Ryan Power Conditioning, an absolute expert, great guy, and, of course, accomplished athlete. You want to go to Mr. Lube? There's 2 locations in St. John's, Newfoundland, and Labrador. One's on Torbay Road, one's on Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull Pain Relief. The pain sticks that just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com. See what all the fuss is about. True Hockey. Take what's yours. And, of course, Muggsy Jeans. Extreme comfort, extreme fit. Thank you to Muggsy and everything you do. Be back in just a few days with more Tales with TR. And, of course, Brent Sopel. Thank you, folks. Catch you guys on the rebound.